Good morning, students. I hope you all are doing great at your places. And today we'll be doing a very interesting chapter that is the face on the wall. So let's just begin. The title of our chapter is the face on the wall, right? So let's just read the story about a face जो कि क्या होता है that appears दिखता है और फिर वो नहीं दिखता है that disappear. The youth in the story, like many other young men at the time in London, they take a rented home. London में बहुत सारे लोग rented room रहते हैं where most of the events of the story take place. जहाँ पे बहुत सारे events इस story में होते हैं, right? So we were talking of events at Denbei which could be explained by natural causes. Denbei का कोई event है, it can be explained through all the natural calamities related to all the natural causes and concerns, right? Most of us was related to an incident without producing much effect. कोई ऐसा ज़्यादा effect नहीं है. And among the stranger was a little man. एक little man है. He was having a very anxious face. He's always eager to know a lot of things, right? He watched each speaker with the closest attention but said nothing. He is too observant and keen in his nature that he used to observe a lot of people but he remained silent, right? Then Denbei, wishing to include him in the talk, कि भाई इसको भी include करना चाहिए, turned to him and asked if he had no experience or story which is to be narrated or which is to be explained. He thought a moment. उन्होंने सोचा, उन्होंने पूछा कि do you have any story or you can say any experience, then you can share, you can narrate. Narrate means telling the story with telling all the live experiences that a person has experienced, right? Well, he said, not a story in an ordinary sense of the word. कोई एक छोटी सी कोई story नहीं है, but if I had one, अगर मेरे पास होती, then I would have tell you. मैं आपको बताता. Truth, I always believe it's the only stranger that fiction, but also more और भी चीजें हैं इन सबसे ज्यादा interesting. I can tell you an occurrence which happened to me personally. मेरे साथ एक incident हुआ है, happens to me personally, which strangely enough completed itself. और इन्होंने इस afternoon में इस चीज को complete. Now we begged him to begin. Yes, we begged him, we requested him, we insisted him. So let's just begin. A year or two ago, I took a room in the old house in Great Ormond Street. This Great Ormond Street is the street which is located in London, right? He took a rented room over here. Now the bedroom walls बहुत ही ज़्यादा previously जो tenants रह रहे थे, tenants are those people who were previously residing in that flat. They had painted those, right? But the place was damp. Damp means बहुत ही ज़्यादा बेकार condition में थी and was great patches. They were having a great patches, बड़े बड़े patches थे walls पे, and one of these was exactly like a face. जैसे कि एक ऐसा patch था that was resembling a face. One morning I came to think, as I came, right? I came to think of it's real. एक morning मुझे ऐसा लग रहा था that this seems to be very real as my fellow lodger, while other patches on the wall they grew larger और बहुत बड़े होते गए and started changing their shape. That this never did और ऐसा कभी नहीं हुआ था. While there, I fell ill with influenza. मेरे को वहाँ पे influenza हो गया था. Influenza is basically a bacteria that causes, it's a virus which causes fever, high fever, right? All day long मेरे को fever हुआ है. I had nothing to do. मेरे पास कोई काम नहीं होता था except to read and think. It was then the face began to get firmer hold on me. Firmer means वो इतना ज़्यादा हो गया था कि I was feeling very weak. I'd grow more and more real and remarkable और बहुत ही बढ़ता जा रहा था. There was curious curve of the nose and forehead was remarkable. सब कुछ मेरी सेहत खराब हो रही थी and in fact मेरा फेस ऐसे हो रहा था जैसे पता नहीं कैसा हो रहा हो. It is an uncommon man, a man in thousands. इतने सारे लोगों में मैं बिल्कुल बेकार सा लगने लग गया था. Well, I got better. मैं धीरे धीरे बेटर हुआ. मेरा फेस भी कंट्रोल हुआ. I started regaining on my health. I found myself searching the street for one like it कि मैं किसी street में रहूँ और वहाँ पे नया room लूँ. Somewhere I was convinced and a real man exists. और फिर वहाँ पे कोई real man मेरे को मिला. I only knew that he and I were in the same way linked by fate. ऐसा लग रहा था कि वो इंसान और मैं किस्मत से एक में ही है. In vain. Vain means useless. I often went to places. मैं बहुत सारी places पे भी गया जहाँ पे लोग बहुत सारे large number में political meeting, political parties, football matches, railway stations, ऐसी जगहों पे भी गया. The search became madness with me. मैं पागल हो गया सर्च कर करके. I stood at busy corners watching the crowd. The crowd को watch किया until people thought me mad and the police began to know me and be suspicious. Means police was getting doubtful because वो हर जगह जगह जाके अपने घर घर देख रहा है, trying to find a rented room, right? and at last saw him. He was in a taxi driving east along. वो टैक्सी में ड्राइव कर रहा था एंड पिकाडियली आई सॉ एन एम्प्टी टैक्सी कमिंग और मैंने देखा कि टैक्सी बिल्कुल खाली आ रही है. फॉलो द टैक्सी आई सेड एंड लीप्ड इन और मैं ने बोला कि इस टैक्सी को फॉलो करो और मैं बैठ गया गाड़ी में. द ड्राइवर मैनेज टू कीप इट इनसाइड कि वो उसकी नजरों के सामने रहे गाड़ी एंड इट टुक अस टू चेयरिंग क्रॉस और हमने बहुत सारी सड़कों भी को क्रॉस किया. आई रश्ड इनटू द प्लेटफॉर्म पे गया एंड फाउंड माय मैन, टू लेडीज. मैंने ढूंढ लिया उस इंसान को, दो लेडीज और एक लिटिल गर्ल के साथ. दे वर गोइंग टू फ्रांस. वो फ्रांस जा रहे थे. आई स्टेड देयर. मैं वहीं रुका ट्राइंग टू गेट अ वर्ड विद हिम. मैं उनसे बात करता बट सब कुछ यूजलेस में गया. दे मूव्ड इनटू द ट्रेन इन वन ग्रुप अलोंग विद अदर फ्रेंड्स. के साथ ट्रेन के अंदर वो लोग चले गए. I hastily purchased a ticket to Foxton के लिए मैंने टिकट परचेज किया and hoping to catch him on the boat. He just moved into the train. वो सब लोग ट्रेन में चले गए एंड उन्होंने भी जल्दी जल्दी टिकट ले लिया एंड कैच हिम ऑन द बोट कि उनको बोट में कैच कर ले फॉक्सटॉन के लिए. एंड ही गॉट ऑन द शिप बिफोर मी विद हिज फ्रेंड्स. मेरे से पहले ही शिप पे बैठ गए एंड दे डिसअपियर इनटू अ लार्ज प्राइवेट कैबिन में. दे ऑल डिसअपियर. Again, I was defeated. फिर से मैं हार गया. But I was so determined. He was so enthusiastic towards his finding. He was so zealous to go with him that I only had enough for a single fare to Baglon. Right? मैं वहाँ पे भी गया. But nothing could stop me now. अब मुझे कोई नहीं रोक सकता. I took up my position opposite his cabin door के पास. मैं उसकी मतलब उन्होंने उसके ऑपोजिट में ले लिया. आफ्टर हाफ एन आवर द door opened and a little girl, she just came outside. My heart beat fast. बहुत ही धड़कने लगा. There was no mistaking the face. Every line was same. सब कुछ same था. He looked at me and moved towards the way to the upper deck के पास गई और it was now or never. मेरे को ऐसा लगा आज या तो फिर आज ये या फिर कभी नहीं. Excuse me, I stammer. Stammer means हकलाना. Do you mind giving me your card? क्या तुम मैं प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं? Can you please give me your card? I have an important reason asking it. बहुत important रीजन है ये पूछने का आपसे. Seems to be greatly surprised, but he granted my request. उन्होंने मेरी बात को माना. Handing me his card, he hurried on with the girl और वो लड़की के साथ चले. It was clear he thought he mad. मेरे को पागल समझ रहे थे and decided to please. Holding the card tightly in my hand, मैं भी कॉर्नर ऑफ शिप में हरिडली वहां पे चला गया और पढ़ने लगा. On it were the words Mr. Armand Wall with an address at Pittsburgh, US. I remember no more until I found myself in a hospital at Baglon. कि मैं कहाँ मिलूंगा हॉस्पिटल में. There I lie in a broken condition. वहाँ पे मैं काफी दिन तक broken condition में for weeks रहा, but he was totally silent at that time. I went back. He started once again after a moment, and this great Audubon Street जो है find out कि मेरे को इस अमेरिका के बारे में क्या क्या find out कर सकता हूँ until yesterday morning. And I had slept till late when I woke up. जब मैं उठा, the room was totally bright with the sunlight, and I looked at once from the wall, and the face was closer to be seen. Face was to be seen. वो वही face था जो face उसकी wall पे था. I rubbed my eyes and sprang up, and it was only faintly visible. और वो बहुत ही ज्यादा क्या है ऐसे धुंधला सा दिख रहा था. Last night it had been a clear as I could almost hear his voice, and now it's a ghost of itself. और अब ऐसे लगने लगा है जैसे ghost हो. So confused and sad, I went out, and the early editions of the paper already published हो चुके हैं. I saw the headline कि American millionaire motor accident हुआ है. Read that Mr. Almond Wall, Pittsburgh, जिन क्योंकि मिलेनियर है, पार्टी मॉनिटरिंग इन इटली. दे वर फाइन मोटरिंग इन इटली. इटली जा रहे थे. दे वर हिट बाय अ वैगन एंड द कार ओवरटर्न और उनका एक्सीडेंट हो गया. मिस्टर वॉल कंडीशन बहुत ही ज्यादा क्रिटिकल है. मैं अपने रूम में वापस गया एंड स्टेयरिंग द फेस ऑन द वॉल और उस वॉल पे फेस को देखने लगा. एंड इवन एज आई लुक सडनली इट कंप्लीटेड डिसअपियर्ड और अब ऐसा लग रहा था बिल्कुल गायब हो चुकी है. लेटर आई फाउंड दैट मिस्टर वॉल जो है ही डाइड ऑफ इंजरीज. जैसे मर गए हैं इंजरीज की वजह से, चोट की वजह से. व्हेन आई टेक इट सी दैट एवरी मोमेंट अगेन ही वाज totally silent at that time. Most remarkable, most extraordinary, मैं ये बोलना चाहता हूँ. Yes, said the stranger. There were three extraordinary, तीन remarkable चीजें हैं about my story. One is that it should be possible for a patch on a wall of a horse or of a house कि एक घर के ऊपर, घर के में एक वॉल है उस पे ऐसा ही पैच है जैसे कि कोई इंसान का दिख रहा हो. एंड इन लंडन नॉट ओनली टू द फार्म फीचर्स ऑफ अ जेंटलमैन इन अमेरिका बट ऑल्सो हैव अ क्लोज एसोसिएशन विद लाइफ. लाइफ के साथ भी रिलेटेड है. Another one, a gentleman name head should bear any relation to the spot, which is features जो है they were curiously reproduced, बिल्कुल same लगते हैं by some unknown agency. Is it not so? So we agreed with him और हमारा discussion जो है supernatural occurrences. Supernatural occurrences are those occurrences which are held by spirits, right? And then he rose and said goodbye. So it was just the door at the door. वो सिर्फ door पे है. One of the company asked him what he considered to be the third most exciting thing connection with this interesting story और तीसरी क्या connection with the story है. And the third thing he said when he opened the door, I was forgetting that मैं उसको भूल रहा था. But the extraordinary thing about the story that it made it up about an half hour ago. वो पहले ही खत्म हो चुकी है. And good night again. It has been written by E.V. Lucas. Right. Moving on to this word meaning. Tenants is of course the persons who are residing in that rented room. Lodger is of course the guest who pays rent for someone in someone house पे आप rent दे रहे हैं. Influenza is a contagious disease. Contagious disease means it is communicable disease. Spreads from one person to another. Symptom of bad cold. Vain means without success. That is useless. Hasty means बहुत ही जल्दी जल्दी करना चीजों को. Stammer means हकलाना. Words को बोलते वक्त आप repeating words निकाल रहे हैं. And motoring means motoring about in a car. Right. Moving on to this practice time, we'll be completing with all the MCQs. The speaker had fallen ill with influenza. Right. Meaning of this word hasty means बहुत ही जल्दी. That is very quickly. What is the stranger than fiction is of course uh, the truth, right? When what did these patches on the face, it resembles a human face. And while following the stranger, the taxi driver took the speaker to Charing Cross, right? Moving on to this fill in the blanks, one of these was exactly looked like a face, right? I took my position opposite his dash and waited opposite his cabin door, right? And I dashed my eyes, and of course, I sprang up. That is, I rubbed my eyes, right? The early dash of the papers were already out. That is, the early editions of the paper, it was already out. And one morning, I came to think of it as real as my fellow lodger, right? Moving on to this true and false. The meaning of the word influenza is without success. This is absolutely false. Influenza means किसी भी virus या bacteria से आपको fever हो जाना. The speaker took a room in an old house in a great Ormond street. This is true, right? The speaker asked the stranger for giving him his card. Yes, this is true. And the stranger did not give the card to the speaker. This is absolutely false. He gave the card while he just chased him at the ship up to the ship. The speaker suffered from influenza. The face began to tremor. A hold on me. Two. Moving on to this question answers. Please complete all these question answers at your own. And I hope you all understood this chapter. It was all about fictionist story about the face on the wall, how the poet is imagining on these scratch walls, on the you can say जिन walls पे ऊपर बहुत ही ज्यादा scratches पड़ रहे थे और उनके ऊपर क्या बन रहे थे, patches बन रहे थे. So this is actually the imagination of a poet, that how he is describing, how he's resembling a face to a patch which is on the wall. You people also do take care of yourself and keep doing hard work for your goal and stay blessed. Thank you.